By reinforcing Israel's hardline positions and narrowing the scope of American diplomacy, AIPAC's advocacy has done enduring harm to Israel's prospect for peace and to the United States' global credibility and moral standing. The American-Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, as a self-described bipartisan organization, has been advocating positions that are closely aligned with successive Israeli governments, regardless of whether those policies advance broader Israeli or the United States interest or long-term regional stability. It has consistently backed Israel government actions, including military operation, settlement expansion, and a hard line toward the Palestinians, while rarely using its considerable leverage to advocate for meaningful peace-oriented concessions or compromises. To understand AIPAC's role in promoting U.S.-Israel relations and how consequential it has and continues to be, it is necessary to examine its formal mission and the scope of its activities. Founded in the 1950s, it seeks to strengthen the U.S.-Israel relationship, to ensure America's alliance with Israel remains strong, grounded in shared strategic interests and democratic values. AIPAC is the most influential foreign policy advocacy group in the United States. AIPAC's operational mode. AIPAC's core activities center on lobbying Congress for U.S. aid for Israel, promoting security cooperation, and sustaining a pro-Israel consensus across both major parties. It operates by cultivating close relationships with lawmakers, holding large policy conferences, and mobilizing a nationwide activists network. It organizes briefings and trips to Israel for U.S. officials, framing issues such as Iran's nuclear program, regional terrorism, and Israel's security needs through the Israeli government lens. AIPAC mobilizes community support for officials who back a strong U.S.-Israel alliance, rewarding allies and targeting critics through campaign spending and grassroots pressure. Through its affiliated Political Action Committee and Super PAC, the United Democracy Project, UPD, AIPAC channels extensive financial resources into U.S. elections. Since 2022 midterm election, its PAC and Super PACs have spent over $200 million backing reliably pro-Israel candidates and opposing those critical of Israeli policy. The UDP alone spent over $37 million in 2024, up from $26 million in 2022, pouring nearly $10 million into Representative Jamal Bowman's race in New York and over $5 million into Representative Cori Bush's race in Missouri, and more than $4 million into Dave Mine's race in California's 47th District. After October 7, 2023, Hamas's attack, AIPAC strongly supported Israel's war against Hamas, advocating expanded U.S. military aid and emphasizing Israel's right to self-defense. It lobbied against congressional efforts to condition or restrict arms transfer, fostering an environment where it became nearly impossible for lawmakers to hold arms sales despite mounting concern over mass civilian casualties in Gaza and war crimes. This has effectively sustained a war that many legal scholars, human rights organizations, and UN experts describe as genocidal, while shielding Israeli leaders from accountability for humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza. AIPAC advocacy versus U.S. national interest. AIPAC portrays its work as fully aligned with U.S. strategic interests, arguing that a military strong Israel is an indispensable democratic ally in a volatile region. It falsely casts support for Israel, including military aid and diplomatic backing at the United Nations, as a natural extension of American security and moral commitments. In this narrative, any easing of U.S. support of Israel is treated as a victory for shared adversaries such as Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas. Yet, its agenda often mirrors the priorities of Israel's most hardline governments, diverging from long-term U.S. interests and stated diplomatic goals. It has lobbied against peace initiatives, settlement freezes, and encouragement with Iran even when pushed by U.S. administrations and endorsed by security experts. By reinforcing maximalist Israeli positions and opposing compromises, AIPAC has deepened the belief across the Arab world, Europe, and the global South that United States diplomacy is one-sided and Washington is unwilling or unable to act as an honest broker. AIPAC's light alignment with Netanyahu's obsessive policies on Iran, settlement expansion, and military operations in Gaza and in the West Bank severely exasperate this problem. When Washington seems constrained by domestic lobbying from conditioning aid or pressing for reduced civilian harm or renewed diplomacy, it reinforces the impression that the United States policy serves a single lobby preferences rather than broader American interests. In this sense, AIPAC's influence had made de-escalation and sustainable peace harder to achieve. AIPAC's hardline stance on Iran. AIPAC has long championed a hardline approach to Iran, viewing the Islamic Republic as Israel's foremost strategic threat. It led opposition to the 2015 Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, that's the JCPOA, backing Citizens for Nuclear-Free Iran, which reportedly spent $20 to $40 million lobbying against President Obama's agreement, even after the deal took effect. AIPAC pushed for renewed sanctions, arguing that any relief fueled Iran's regional ambition and weakened Israel's security. Under the Trump administration, AIPAC backed efforts to dismantle the JCPOA and endorsed the maximum pressure campaign, despite warning from non-proliferation experts that it would accelerate Iran's nuclear advances and embolden hardliners, framing Iran's malign behavior as a proof of the deal's failure. AIPAC fueled a policy shift culminating in Trump's 2018 withdrawal and sweeping renewed sanctions. The result strengthened Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps and left Israel confronting a more capable nuclear program with fewer diplomatic options. AIPAC, working with congressional hawks, pushed new sanction legislation and funded think tanks and media outlets promoting a path to destabilization or regime change. Its sustained hostility toward Tehran helped normalize confrontation as a policy orthodoxy, blurring the line between deterrence and aggression and paving the way for today's spiraling and increasingly disastrous war, where both Israel and the United States appear trapped in a self-defeating conflict with Iran. AIPAC's advocacy to Israel's detriment. When a powerful lobby demands a single hardline course, it narrows policy choices and sidelines diplomacy. AIPAC's reflective backing for military escalation, settlement entrenchment, and resistance to meaningful Palestinian self-determination has encouraged Israeli leaders to favor short-term advantage over long-term legitimacy and security. What was once seemed tough maximum pressure on Iran, indefinite occupation, opposition to genuine peace talks, has fueled entrenched conflict, growing isolation, and raising accusation of apartheid and even genocide in international forums, all eroding Israel's strategic position. The consequences are now glaring: a horrific war against Iran and an ending Israeli-Palestinian violent conflict, global boycott campaigns, investigation of the International Court of Justice and International Criminal Court, and fraying ties with key partners in Europe and the Global South. Yet, AIPAC's influence has helped shield Israeli leaders from accountability, postponing the internal reckoning that might have faced a course correction. In this sense, AIPAC has acted less like a friend warning of a danger than an enabler, assuring Israel it can flout international norms without cost, an illusion that has made the country far less secure and a pariah state at that. By using its clout in Washington to support Israeli leaders and policies that reject or defer a viable two-state solution, AIPAC has prolonged a cycle of occupation and escalation resistance, leaving Israel with deepening moral perils and global isolation. AIPAC ignored the near-universal consensus that Israel's long-term security is inseparable from a just resolution to the conflict with the Palestinians. AIPAC and Israel's growing isolation, by lobbying to shield Israel from accountability due to a United Nations resolution opposing conditions on aid and discouraging pressure over settlements and human rights abuses. AIPAC has helped entrench policies in Gaza, the West Bank, and beyond that much of the world now regards as violation of international law. Consequently, more state, civil society groups, and international institutions see Israel not as a besieged democracy, but as a power waging wars with impunity. When the United States furnishes Israel weapons and diplomatic cover amid mounting evidence of Palestinian devastations, AIPAC becomes complicit in the very abuses it condemns elsewhere. AIPAC cannot be blamed alone for the disastrous war with Iran, but it helped create the environment that made it possible. Mistaking rigidity for strength, it delivered neither peace nor security for Israel, only the illusion of safety amid endless conflict. AIPAC's legacy is one of profound loss, Israel isolated, adrift, and morally diminished, and America stripped of its conscience.